changes.
I think we can begin. Pledge allegiance. Oh wait, call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jen and others, could you call the roll?
Mr. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Rowley?
Here.
Mr. Duco?
Here.
Mr. Hendricks?
Here.
Mr. Jennings?
Here. Can I get a motion for the approval of last month's minutes? Motion. Second. Anyone have any questions or corrections? Jen, the roll.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes. The extensive treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report, yeah, it's a big one. We have financial reports as well as the board reports. And I will read through the long list of donations we have here. $100 from Mrs. Tortora Fringer for the football program. $200 from Rose Barquette and her family. $200 from LASA. Those both are for the soccer program to play at YSU. We have $75 donation in memory of Dorothy Mango for the LEETONIA football program from the Court of Common Pleas, and a $50 donation from Mrs. Perkins for Rob Perkins Scholarship. And the following donations are all for the Hall of Fame. $50 from Patrick and Ernestine Mancuso, $25 from Robert and Eloise Osterling, $25 from Jim Rance and Carmela Bellavere. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. Bellavere, okay. $50 from Deborah and Dana Baker, $100 from Danny Guido, $100 from Tom and Katie Billette, $10 from Tanya Gologram, $10 from Ann Toby, $20 from Larry and Rini Duco, $25 from Harry Leffler, $25 from Joe and Bev Billette, $250 from Louis Altamore, $100 from the VFW, $200 from the American Legion. And the last item is in D, is to approve the final appropriations for fiscal year 14 as the auditor has requested of me to do.
Have a motion for Form A and B. Motion. Second? I'll just take that as a second. Any questions or comments? Discussion on anything, especially the appropriations?
These are the amounts that we spent total for fiscal year 14, in case you're wondering.
You squeaked it under $7 million. This is for general fund.
Yeah, for the general fund, and a little under $7 million.
The roll call, please.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes. And we like long lists of donations, by the way. So
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
a good thing. We can have a couple pages if we want. I don't know, did anyone sign up for public participation?
Yes.
Well, that's going to be on the agenda, so we don't need to call you in special pull you in for that. All right, well, with that, why don't we go to you, Mr. Reno?
Okay, I'm going to start off with part of my superintendent's report. We have several guests tonight. First, I said I'd let them go early because it's awful cold in here. But
we need the body heat, don't play.
first, I want to introduce Kim Mayer, our gifted program coordinator from the ESC. Kim has been working with our administration and teaching staff about to deliver the gifted services for the next year. So, Kim, if you wanted to share that with the board, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Would you like me to discuss some of the changes we're making?
Yes, and kind of the state kind of changes kind of entwined with that.
Okay. As many of you have probably heard, there will be some changes to the state report card coming in August of 2015. At this time, there will be a measurement that will look at the amount of gifted students you have identified in your district and compare that to the amount of students who are receiving services. Currently, we have a fair amount of students who are identified gifted in the areas of reading and math that have not been able to receive service. We have been requiring, in order for a student to receive services, they would either have to have a superior cognitive identification, which would be a score of 127 or higher on a nationally normed IQ test, or they would have to have a score of 120 plus a reading and math identification, which would be a score at the 95th percentile in reading and math on a nationally normed achievement test. So one of the changes we are going to make in order to serve more of the students we have here in the district is to remove that cognitive score of 120. So therefore we will now be serving our students who have the superior cognitive identification. Those students will receive service in both reading and math. Then those students who have the 95th percentile or higher on a reading identification will now receive reading service, and those who have the same score in math will receive service in math. We are going to be providing our service for grades 5 through 8 now in the regular classroom rather than in a pull-out program. Our general ed teachers will be providing that service, and I will be working very closely with them to provide support with lesson planning or professional development. We will still continue to provide service for grades 2, 3, and 4 in a pull-out program. That will be 2 afternoons a week with the same gifted intervention specialist as we have had for the past 2 years, I believe. That would be Brianna Winden from the ESC. Did you have any questions about that? So one thing we will need to do is modify the service plan that the district currently has, and then I will submit that to the Ohio Department of Education.
After board approved, it's an item on today's agenda.
Yes. Any questions?
So that pull-out program is the gifted teacher one day that's on our agenda under C3?
Correct. There was 2 days last year, and with keeping the elementary the same way, that's the 1 day. Correct.
And can I add that by providing service this way, this will also provide higher level math and reading to all of your students who have high scores on the OAAs or your top performing students. Even if they do not have that reading or math identification, they may still be in the class and will receive the same instruction. So this will benefit a much larger percentage of your students.
Rob, can you in like a minute or 2 minutes go through the thought process as to how you make a decision between the pull-out versus the in-class instruction, kind of what thought process do you go through?
Sure. As we're going through this, we noticed several things. One, we noticed that some of the students that were being pulled out for math or reading are being pulled out of their subjects during that class. They're in their 8th grade reading class being pulled out to go to the gifted. So they're missing their classwork. They're there to be over into that pull-out program. We also, our teachers differentiate as it is now, and so they differentiate, they're doing that differentiation to meet the needs of all the students. So we talked about we could differentiate a large group, as Kim said, and all of these students would receive these services as well. As we were pulling these students out, we looked at some test scores as well. One of our thought process was, okay, they're gifted in math, they're going to this resource room, sometimes 3 or 4 at a time. Middle school, a lot start to drop out of the program. They don't want to be pulled out of classes. So we have 3, 4, 5, or 6 being pulled out. And as we're looking at that, we're saying, well, are their math scores increasing proportional to the time that they're spending in that isolated area for those standards? And we looked at some of that, and Kim provided that data for us. And as we started going through this, that's when we started thinking that, you know what, some schools and in the county and elsewhere do it integrated, and they do the inclusion. We looked at that, and then we also looked at the PD for our teachers. That's when we brought the staff in, and we brought 7th and 8th grade teachers in, and we said, okay, we don't want to add one more thing to you. We're going to pull away a teacher for a day for the gifted. However, it's going to help the students, and as always, our staff said, you know what, this is good for all of our kids, all of our students. We want to do it in the classroom with me as the teacher, with support, and that's going to help all of our students rather than just the few that get pulled out. Now, the question that came up, one of the things, Larry, that we had a little bit of concern about was we have a large amount of students that are very interested in destination imagination. Great program. However, we wouldn't lose that. And Kim, you said that you're actually on the state board for that, or the...
Well, the region, yes.
The region.
This region, yes, I am the treasurer for that.
And we could still do that program. It was used.
Absolutely.
It was not part of the pull-out with the teacher anyway, correct?
No.
It was all after school.
Correct.
And we can continue that after school
Right.
with some support from Kim
Right.
to help us with that. Now, she's not going to be coaching any teams. We're going to have to find
Right,
coaches.
we will have some parents that...
But we do every year.
We were talking about having a parent night since we are making some changes, and we will be bringing in several students who in the past have not qualified for service, so we will need to sign a lot of written education plans. And that's something I could talk about that night at the parent meeting, is that any parents interested in teams, you know, we can pull that together, so, yeah, absolutely.
I'm confused now. So they're not gonna pull them out, so how's this gonna play?
The teachers in their classroom are going to meet those standards at the level that the students are and push them to. They're going to meet them there. They're going to do the gifted education, the regular ed teacher. You know, Mr. Burley.
So we're not gonna bring in a special teacher then?
No, not in the middle school.
Okay, and not in the 7th and 8th?
No.
I can speak of this firsthand because my son participated in this for both years, and it was a major problem pulling the kids out. Because what happened was, the philosophy is wonderful. Couldn't ask for a better philosophy. The practical thing is completely prohibited because you get pulled out of your math core class, teacher's understanding, but the class must go forward. So the class isn't slowing down for you at all, and you're out of there twice a week. That leaves you 3 days a week to do a 5 days a week thing. So I mean, it was, everyone that knows the kids that were in the class, it was tremendous. And not so much that they couldn't handle it, it was just the fact that the class is still propelling forward, and now you're in this other class, and the other class was wonderful in ways because it got a little bit out of the box way of thinking,
Right.
and looking at learning and a couple of alternative programs, but the confrontation was bad.
And now all students in that class will have that opportunity to look at that we're talking about.
So do you think like perhaps that maybe some students that aren't testing high enough, that they could...
Yeah, I think it should be beneficial
Okay.
for all the students.
How about financially for the burden on the district?
Well, we reduced that teacher 1 day a week. Now, our teacher, they're going through the PD, and they'll be meeting with Kim. Like I said, I have to say thanks to Kim. She, as many of you know, a very intense person. And Kim has put up with many emails and crossing T's and dotting I's
That's
and
my job.
asking questions. And I appreciate that the whole time she's been knowing what our vision was and saying, yes, that would be great. Matter of fact, she even said that in the middle school, that's probably the best delivery method, the one that you favor.
Right, we're seeing this, this is happening in more and more districts across the county. Before becoming a gifted coordinator, I was a gifted interventionist a gifted intervention specialist for many years at Southern Local and Beaver Local, and I have had experience working in all different types of settings, pull-out, inclusion, general ed settings. I was also a gifted coordinator for the Summit County Educational Service Center. I worked with a lot of large school districts up there, and most of the services in that county were through general ed services. So I've had a lot of experience working with gen ed teachers. This is how I look at it. The gen ed teachers are the teachers that are experts in their areas of math and reading. My expertise is working with gifted students. So I feel that bringing us together, we should be able to create some wonderful higher level lessons for our students. It can work, but it takes collaboration and it takes commitment. And those are the key words to making it work. So it's a good service as long as everyone is on board and works together.
So how will you assess at the end of the year if it was the right move?
Well, that's a good question. I guess we'll be looking at our OAA scores. We're going to, that's going to require a lot of, looking at progress reports with other teachers. We're going to see, are our scores coming up? Did our math scores come up? Did our language arts scores come up? We're going to look specifically at these students. Like I told Mr. Mino, like Mr. Mino said, I went through the entire district's database of gifted students, and I pulled up all of their OAA scores over the past 3 years and documented those. So we can look at those and add a fourth year, and we can see if we're, I guess we can look at the data.
How many students are there? Sorry, Mike.
Identified gifted, how many students?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I mean, it's a long list.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
right now we service how many of those that are identified?
I would say we are servicing probably 35%.
Yeah, I wanna say that-
Approximately.
I
We
wanna-
have many
That's what I
students
looked at,
with
we're
math
servicing-
and reading identification that have never been, never qualified for this service.
I know there were, in the middle school last year, I know there was, I think, 22. Because I was looking at, could we combine, one time I was looking, could we combine them in one math class, 6, 7, 8, and differentiate? But this format's much better. We went through a lot of different suggestions on the
And
way.
the other thing we run into, this is a
22.
requirement by the state, for any student in grades K-5 receiving gifted services, they must receive 225 minutes of service per week in the area they are identified gifted. And those, so if they're a math identified student, they need 225 minutes of math. If they're a reading student, they need it in reading. Grades 6 and above need 240 minutes. So this way, they are going to be far above that 225 minutes. So that will certainly be more beneficial.
Thank you.
So
Any other
you're
questions?
changing the criteria and dropping that 120 cognitive score?
We are
requirement?
doing that so that all students that are identified receive service as close to 100% as we can get.
So as far as the state
Because
report?
they're going to count on the state report card whether they're served or not.
Okay.
So that's why we want to serve them, because they're still going to count. They are reported through EMIS as identified in the district.
So then by doing the inclusion within the classroom, that expands the number of
Yes.
students receiving the service?
Absolutely.
So that should improve that
Greatly.
ratio?
Right, I mean, we won't be able to serve, another thing we're adding to, we're hoping to do is with high school, ODE has approved allowing districts to use AP courses and some honors courses as gifted services. Really all we have to do is attach a syllabus and the student must have a written education plan. We are looking at doing that as well. Mr. Radinsky gave me the syllabi from the honors courses. The curriculum consultants at the ESC and I went through those. So we will have approved like the Spanish 4 and the honors English, right off the top of my head I can't think of all of them, as also gifted student as services. So any student that's identified gifted in high school can be considered served as well. And that is how high school services are done across the state.
Thank you.
And right now, I don't think any district in the county has any high school services, so this will be a first. Any other questions?
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
What do you have next for us?
Michael Ross next. He worked with us, as some of you remember, several years ago on a program. We didn't get the funding, and now he's got some more funding. He's going to bring back to the school. He's been working with Mr. Radinsky, and I'll let Michael.
A little more passion this time.
Yeah. I'd also like to introduce teacher. He also works in the schools. This is Brad Torhan. He is a part of our program as well. He's our main teacher. He comes in the schools. If you don't mind, I have Exhibit A here. I'd like to pass out to all of you guys. This is kind of the nuts and bolts of our program. For those of you who've heard me before, basically the start of our program, I wrote a book called Overcoming the Character Deficit, which basically outlines some of the problems we're having in our culture. Just go right back to the foundation, which is individual neglect of character in our culture. And so I started to do seminars on that years ago, and a teacher approached me from my area in East Liverpool and asked me to start a school program, and we did. And LEETONIA was actually the first public school that we did, which I think it was 4 years ago, wasn't it? My gosh, it's been a while. But as we move forward, we've been trying to improve the program. My book became nationally published, which was great, and so that gave us some funding to bring it back into the schools. A couple years ago, you had 10% budget cuts across the state. We understand that pain. And one thing that we want as a program, especially outsiders, is one, we want to alleviate your pressure as far as financially, and two, we want to alleviate teachers' pressure. We don't want to come in as an outsider and put more burden on the teachers and on the administrative staff. We want to alleviate pressure. So we've been working very hard on ways we can do that. And the good news is about the program now, the program actually, the bottom line cost is $9,716. And because of some generous donors in the community, we have Hometown Products, Specialty Fabricators, A-Plus Powder Coaters, Forever Lawn, All Phase American Builders, and then my company, we've pulled together. And to schools in Columbiana County, your cost is zero across the board. So I'm very proud to say that, because I don't want any of the kids in Columbiana County not to have access to this program because of money, and I understand the strains that are there. The other thing is, I'm a Columbiana County guy. I've been told since I was young that not a lot of good things come out of this area. I'm pretty competitive as well, and so I refuse to believe that. And so the only private funding that is given is to Columbiana County. We do have a lot of other counties and districts who want our program, but they have to pay. Columbiana County, I want to do 100% free, because I believe in this area. I believe that great things can still happen. Just nuts and bolts of the program. It's right here. We want to attend the in-service because we want teachers to know what we're going to be doing here. They see these two guys coming in. We want them to know why we're here. And we're here simply to help, and to help restore what made our nation great, which is character, unchanging principles. And so we come in and we try to talk to the teachers. We also want the teachers to know that we're 100% privately funded. We don't want them to think we're just coming in here teaching and walking to the bank with the school's money. That's not what we're trying to do. We want to make a difference. We want to help. We also want to help Mrs. Rice. So she's got a lot of kids that she has to focus on. And so when we were here in the past, I actually sat down with kids one-on-one. I'm a certified life and business coach. And so I would sit down with students one-on-one who needed help, and I would eat lunch with them. I'd sometimes go in a private room and talk about struggles they'd have at home to try to help them with some of the difficult home life issues that they're dealing with. So we want to be a resource to help Mrs. Rice as well. She's got a big load, and so we want to help alleviate some of that pressure for her. We want to give surveys to all the students. We do that at the beginning of the program and then at the end. So you can actually have hard data that we can bring back to you and say, this is the difference we've made. When I left last time, to my surprise, one day I received a stack of letters from LEETONIA students who were just thanking me. And I was touched and blessed and all of that. But we want to see more of that. We want more, because there's many kids out there who we didn't get to touch. I'm not okay with that. We want to keep moving forward and touching more lives. The program is structured 16 classroom sessions. We cover vision, so how to set goals for their life, how to think the future, how to dream about the future and what they're capable of. We talk about self-image. Self-image right now, 85% of students have a negative self-image, and it's the leading cause of suicide with young men and women. So we hit that hard. Really try to build them from the inside out, let them see the value that they have. We cover proper communication. So as you know, social media is big. And we try to cover why conflict through social media and things that they deal with are not proper. 93% of communication is missed when you send a text message or email, and we teach that to the students. We make it very experiential. We cover conflict resolution, which is a growing topic. We have a really good time with that one. We do role play where students learn how to properly resolve conflict instead of forming cliques against each other and fighting each other. And then we go into thoughtful communication, where we actually have the students write letters to teachers who have touched them over the years, and we have them take it to the teachers, and they get the good ephemeral feeling of giving somebody something from their own words that touches it. We've had teachers cry and that stuff. It's fun, but the students love it, and then there's this good feeling that comes out of it. We start the program through an assembly. I come in, and you were there. I try to pump them up, get them juiced up, ready for what we're going to cover, and then we end with a a assembly as well. We didn't get to do it the last time just because of scheduling conflicts, but what I try to do there is I will bring in our sponsors. I will invite, if of course, if it's okay with the administration, we invite people from the community who want to stand behind the kids. And what they're saying is, at the final assembly, is we stand behind these principles of character, and we are wanting to support them and what made our country great. We also have options for mentoring program. We did it last year at Wellsville, and it was a huge success. What we did was we had the 12th graders take the 9th graders, we had the 11th graders take the 8th graders, and we had the 10th graders take the 7th graders. We trained a certain number of students who were elite in our program. We trained them on some of the things that we teach on. They taught small groups of the younger kids, and it was just a huge success. And the school really got behind it. So we have an option for that if scheduling permits. The day of the week, we usually come in 1 day a week. What we're offering LEETONIA, if Mr. Rudinsky and Mr. Mino and you of the board would approve of this, we'd like to give you a full year because we want to reach as many students as possible. And Rob, I think you remember I told you this. I said, when I come back, I'm going to give you everything I got. They took a chance on us years ago to get this program started, and I do appreciate it. And so we want to give LEETONIA as much as we can, as I promised. So we want to give you a full year so we can reach as many students as possible. And so I will open up for questions or anything like that if you have any questions.
As part of the 16, or in addition to, is there a way you can target some kids that are out of school more than in school, that we either punish to be out of school or choose not to be in school as much, that we can bring them in as a more of the extreme group you want to reach? Is that something that would be part of the...
We'd be open, yeah, to that.
Have you ever gone through that path of, here you have the mainstream population of students, and then your 16-course character building, then you've got this...
Yes.
We've had people in our mainstream courses get into trouble and be in out of school, some suspension classes or something, and so they've had the curriculum book and stuff, and the person that's in charge of the out of school suspension or the in school suspension is, hey, he needs something to work on. Here I saw your lesson book, so we've kind of incorporated that a little bit, but I like that. I mean,
or maybe my question is to Mr. Mino and Rudinsky is, if you're 1 day a week, whatever day of the week and week of the month it is, we have those 4 or 5 kids that aren't here but really could or should be here. Is there a way we can look at the out-of-school suspension program to even maybe bring them in for that, and then let them go back to serve their other days?
Right. Yeah.
Just an option.
No, that's a good idea.
We also, one thing I wanted to do, because sometimes we miss kids, is I started a podcast that you guys can get on it yourself and start a podcast that covers all these character traits that we talk about. A very practical lesson. I don't know if it's a punishment or not, but some in-school suspension teachers actually make the kids in in-school suspension listen to my podcast all day. So it might be a punishment.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know people roll their eyes when they hear it, when they have to come.
But that is
Like a scared straight.
yeah, that's it. I don't get them right there.
I was going to say, I believe that 4 years ago when we started, and Kevin and I put it in the paper actually, quite as I remember, and it went well. But I had 2 or 3 superintendents call me. I know Wellsville was one, and Crestview was one.
Yes.
And all those ones that called, and I told them, they all stayed with you all 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a good program for them as well.
Wellsville, just notable at Wellsville, last year, they had one fight in the whole year. I mean, I'm not crediting that to our program necessarily, but I do feel confident that we contributed to that.
I was here when you came last time, and I thought it was a great program, and really curious because 4 years goes quick. And you guys keep mentioning Wellsville, and without putting a spotlight on them, but I know that in Wellsville they've had their problems with a lot of adolescents that have been getting involved in extra activities that have gotten them in trouble, whether it's drugs or alcohol, or breaking and entering and stuff like that. And these are all kids 15 to 20 years old. Have you found, when you say that there's only one fight in Wellsville, have you found that everything is character? If you have a strong character and a strong belief and a strong love of oneself or God or whatever that is, it's going to, make you choose right paths versus wrong paths, and not just making sure we get A's and B's on all the important subjects, but making sure that we have a well-rounded character. In Wellsville, in the last 4 years, when you say that there was only been one fight, do you think that there, or is there any stats that have showed that you guys been able to get through to these kids to cut down on the drugs, the alcohol, that, you know, you come from a rough home life, you go look for an escape. And if you don't like yourself, then the escape's going to be more infantilizing, and you're going to go to that, especially if you get on it with the wrong people. So, I mean, do you feel that you guys have made inroads?
I definitely do. I mean, just from LEETONIA, the stack of paper that he got when he first got here, I opened it up to communication on my Facebook, and I have numerous students from all over, just everywhere, and Wellsville included, to where they've stated that this has changed their lives. And I'm making better decisions, and the confirmation of what our program has done, it's in through those messages. We don't have it hard copied down, but I mean, just there's numerous, letters and just confirmation from the students, and you could see it too. I mean, physically, when I go in the studio, they get excited. They know that, when I go there, and they just get excited, and it just, if that's just the one class that they just feel out of that situation and out of those circumstances, then that's our goal.
And I appreciate it. Like I said, I want them to come. They're going to be in our school. Mr. Radinsky's been working. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight. But I know you're working with him. I want the board to understand the program. I don't want someone to come home and say we're doing this and see. I want everybody to be clear on it.
And we'll be covering.
There's no voting on this tonight. Is what I'm saying for the board.
Just covering
informational.
The health class. So it'll be.
You guys asked, what did you guys decide to do, real quick?
Yeah, we're still finalizing that. Rye's been coordinating with Mr. Radinsky, but we are going to be covering the health class. It will be gradable to them as well, some of the exercises that we have. So it will be in line with the programs as a rider instead of taking kids out of class. We've done that before, and teachers got to get their stuff done. I appreciate what you said earlier. And again, we want to make sure that we're alleviating pressure from the teachers. And even when we're here, we have no problem if a teacher says, hey, we're having trouble with this guy. Can you talk to him? And we try to build rapport with the kids to where they'll feel comfortable.
Something like that. Like he just said, teachers have come to us and say, hey, we think you should go talk to this student. Something like an out-of-school suspension. That's another tier that we can cover.
Because we don't have in-school suspension.
In-school, okay.
It's an audience that we lose if they're not here when you are.
Yeah.
So, right. Why wouldn't we do the mentoring? What would get in the way of the option? You said option for mentoring.
It's scheduling. It's just it works better at smaller schools, but one of the things that gets in the way is just scheduling, because you have to pull all those kids out of class by grade. So you have to pull, the juniors and the 8th graders together.
What if it's lunch table mentoring?
We might be able to do that. It'd be something, we love it. It works very well. Love for you guys to come see it. It's amazing. It is. And the kids are really focused, because we focus on relevant topics. We actually started the program. We brought the kids together and we said, what matters to you? What topics? Because we could come in and say, well, you need to, sit up straight and, do your homework and all this stuff, and we're going to talk about that. And we said, what's relevant to you?
You hear that at home, it doesn't
And they came in. And so when these older students are talking to these younger students, and also we encourage them to be very authentic about the mistakes they've made as well. And so they come in and they share transparently about their mistakes. And these young students are just eating out of the palm of their hand and have someone to look up to right there that looks at them as they matter. And it's groups of 5 or 6 students. That's what's really nice about it. They get intimate conversation. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank
you
much.
guys so much.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
He's a good basketball player if we have a staff game.
Why doesn't do that again?
Okay, 6A, 1 through 4, I'm going to do as first. For the Title I tutors for the 2014-2015 school year. under a limited contract, that would be Brendan Fringer and Chelsea Satterwine. Approve Lisa Lorch as EMIS Administrative Secretary for 9 days in July, effective July 21st. And number 3 is to approve Lisa as the EMIS Administrative Secretary under a 2-year contract, effective August 1st, 2014, since she came in the middle of the month. And lastly, approve Cheryl Almy at a rate of $70.34 per hour to help with EMIS administrative duties.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Questions?
On number 4, is that in addition to access?
It is, but it's not for long-term.
Yeah.
Jen?
It's just so we can get everything changed over.
Okay, it's interim.
Yeah.
She's just working a couple hours here and there to help Lisa along with her.
Wouldn't we normally put words of capping that at so many hours?
We talked about capping at 20 hours. I had thought about doing that.
Even more, I'm just asking.
No, but we talked about 20 is what we thought we would have.
We talked about how many hours we thought, but we never really talked about a cap.
A cap.
But I think we're pretty on the way. Cheryl was in about an hour today, and I think probably we won't be seeing much more of her.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're
No, you're
already
on,
13.
Lisa.
Yeah.
We have training though on August 4th. If that is on.
Any other questions on 6A? Roll, please, Jen.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Use of sales is only one, and this is actually retroactive. Approve the building use of the Tillian Little Bears parent meeting, retroactive for July 16th.
Motion, please.
Motion. Second.
Any questions on this? Roll call, Jen.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
6C, I'm going to do 1 through 4. 1 is approve the attached Access EMIS service agreement. 2 is to approve Julian and Grubbs Inc. as auditor of Medicaid school program for fiscal year 2014-2015 and fiscal year 2015-2016. Approve a contract for services with the Columbiana County Educational Service Center for the 2014-15 school year. Gifted coordinator at $15,770 and gifted teacher for 1 day at $10,051. And 4, approve the attached district policy for the identification of and services for students who are gifted.
Motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Questions on 1 through 4?
On number 3, the 10,051, is that 1 period, 1 day?
That's a 1 day, so it'd be 7 periods.
7 periods, 1 day a
1
week.
day, or we're going to do it 2 days of the same amount of time. Yeah. Correct, Kim?
Yes, 2 afternoons.
And the coordinator,
2 afternoons for every week of the school year.
and the gifted coordinator, probably be good to point out that by state law, we have to have a gifted coordinator and to meet certain qualifications. And we paid the same last year, and Kim's going to be more involved with this year.
Right.
And that includes testing and some other things as well.
Right, last year I primarily did your testing and placed students in programs, supervised the gifted teacher. I would also continue to supervise the gifted teacher.
Are those amounts firm? Will they change? Can they change?
We've talked, they go by like a schedule like we do. So they can change, but the schedule changes. If their salary schedule changes, they have a salary schedule.
Okay.
But what we can do is reduce the time. As far as the gifted coordinator, that's a set amount.
Any other questions?
What is the Medicaid school program?
I'll take that one.
Yeah, it was easy.
On the spreadsheet that you get monthly, where it says Medicaid
Yeah.
reimbursement, because we get reimbursed from the state of Ohio for Medicaid, it has to be audited by an outside firm. So that's why we're doing Julian and Group. The nice thing about the cost for the services, we do get that back when we do our audits, because usually what happens at the end of the year is they end up owing us more money because some of the services during the year were not picked up to be reimbursed.
Okay.
So when we get that reimbursement check back, we also get the amount back that we paid to have somebody audit us. So it's kind of a, 0-0.
Right.
So-
That's wholly separate from financial audit?
Yes, it's completely separate.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Roll please, Jim.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Okay, 6C5 is to approve the negotiated agreement with LEETONIA Education Association for a 3-year period from September 1st, 2014 through August 31st, 2017.
Need a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, comments? I know we've had a lot of discussions on it.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for the hard work on that. I know it takes a lot of extra time.
Yeah, thank you, and like I said, I have some comments at the end, but thank you, thank everybody too, and cooperation with everybody.
So I guess with that, the vote?
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Abstain.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Okay, last substitutes, D1, approve Kelly Woolley as a substitute administrative secretary for the 2014-15 school year, and substitute custodians, Gloria Prather, Andrea Percy, and Pamela McCoy for the 2014-2015 school year.
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Be great if we could teach someone EMIS as a substitute also.
And I
We
talked-
put that opportunity out there. It's just a good thing to learn, and it would help us.
I talked to two people about that I interviewed, both from LEETONIA, and I'm going to talk to them about this training and going up. I talked to Lisa about that, if we would, and I talked to John LaPlanet Access, and he said, as long as we're okay with them having they've got some sensitive material. So that would be the one thing that he's concerned about. However, if they're interested, I'd love to put them on the substitute list or do something, somehow do that, because I agree, it's,
Or put a network node right at her bed?
yeah. I agree.
Any other questions, comments? Roll, Jen, please.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowley?
Abstain.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Okay, the rest of my superintendent's report, very quickly. I want to thank the custodial staff, under the leadership of Russ Miller, for their attention to detail as the floors, halls, classrooms, lockers, and all areas are being cleaned, waxed, and prepared for the coming school year, which will be less than a month away. The campus looks great, and thank you. We continue to work on the fields, including the soccer field. We added some more dirt. I do want to note that there was a board meeting last night at the library, and our soccer team will be playing their home games at the library next year, except for 2, I believe, Jen, at YSU. Was
Yeah,
that
we're
what-
going to play 2 games at once.
YSU, and the rest will be down at the library. Lastly, real quick, I don't want to go on and on about this, but I can't say enough about thank you to Larry had started it, and I wanted to continue. Thank you to the people that worked on the contract. I've had the privilege of working with LEETONIA staff and Board of Education for over 5 years. This will be my 6th year as we start this year, and 3 contract negotiations, and it just never ceases to amaze me the understanding and commitment to community that the staff and the board have. You don't get that everywhere. Believe me, I've been to other schools, I've been to other places. The teamwork and enthusiastic attitude to do what is best for the students and community is overwhelming. I want to thank the teachers for their continued focus on the students and well-being of the school district. This agreement exemplifies their continued commitment to do what is best for the students as well as our school system and community. I want to thank them, the teachers, the board. As you know, in the contract, there is a increase in pay for the teachers, and they took a pay freeze for 6 years. Whenever we've asked them to do something, they've done it. Look at the gifted, adding gifted to the general ed classroom. They've never said no, and I just can't say how honored I am to be associated with this board and this teaching staff. So I just want to say thank you. The president's here today. I want to so thank you for coming. And like I said, the whole time we talked, it was always about students. It was always about what's best for them, never about I or me, what's best for students, what's best for the community. And it's just, refreshing. It's refreshing to see that. So that's all I have.
Good job, either way.
Thank you.
That's it on your report?
That's it. Well,
We don't have any student achievement in the summertime?
Not necessarily. We did last month, actually, but fair enough.
Any roundtable, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Michael?
Yeah, well, I want to start with the board. That was, and I wasn't part of it, but a couple board members here that spent a lot of personal time this negotiation. I mean, a lot. And that's the one thing that's the unspoken heroes that people don't understand. And the board members and Rob and Jen, I mean, a lot of their personal time was spent with this. I mean, Marshall will tell you. And a huge thank you to them. But in particular, the teaching staff of the school is exceptional. 5 years ago, I was elected, and we had a 3-year, 5-year projection being $7-8 million in debt. The state was knocking on our door to come in and take over the school district. And if you've ever seen a school district in this state that has been taken over by the state, it's brutal. It's an absolute brutal experience, and you no longer exist as any kind of independent district that there is. Now, thank God the teachers had the vision to realize that this was going to happen, and they sacrificed for the last 5 years with nothing. I appreciate that. I think they had the same vision. And not just so much for the preservation of the school district to make sure there was no way that we were going to fall into dismal fiscal existence where they would try to merge us with another district. This way we could keep the independence and the longevity of LEETONIA as a K-12 campus. Having said that also, I think the teachers, when RB took over, he said to me, we have to make a difference on all aspects. We have to attack every aspect of this district to save it. And one of them was attitude. And when I came in here for the first year, the teachers were everywhere. Nobody was unified or united or had the purpose of the goal of the district. That's all changed. There was only one way that we were ever going to achieve what we did, and it was from the teachers at the grassroots in every single classroom, changing the attitudes. You know, when we came in, it was hard to find any teacher that was happy with anything. And I think because they truly felt that the board wasn't a good steward of the money. And I think that's changed. I mean, with the help of RB and Jennifer looking at every possible rock to overturn to save a dollar, to save the district, to turn around the financial destruction that was coming, which we have. I mean, that is crystal clear right now. And then once we've achieved that, I think it is a true blessing that everyone was able to come together and craft this contract, you know, and to reward the teachers because of their sacrifice over 5 years, and for them to have the ability to see the vision that we would be good steward of this district's money, and that we would be, you know, bring the school back around to financial stability, which we have. Thank you to all the teachers, and I mean from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you.
You guys can't top that song.
No.
We're not even asking you guys if you have anything to add.
Come on, come on.
Larry, do you have anything significant to add?
No, I'm good, Kurt.
I'm good. I'm good. Ditto.
It needed to be said, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. Well said, Michael.
Executive session.
Oh, yeah,
will be on.
okay. With that, we're going to adjourn to executive
Hold on.
session.
I'm sorry.
What now? What happened?
That's what it is.
I remember that.
Thank you.
We're going to adjourn to executive session. We're going to renew negotiations and consider compensation of a public employee. No action to be taken. Those that will be in the meeting are at the table. Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay. With that,
Need a
motion to
motion.
adjourn to executive
Motion.
session. Second. All in favor?
All right.
Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your summer.